just as United set up poorly, I thought Liverpool set up incredibly well. They were really aware that United's strength and probably their own weakness came in the middle of the park in that midfield, so they bypassed that. You didn't have to worry about how good Casemiro was because you just kept the ball out wide. And Liverpool made the pitch just seem massive at times, didn't they? Because they spread the play so effectively. They played balls from deep that were a lot more effective over the top. They were willing to get players to the byline. I thought they were excellent in the way that they attacked Man United, particularly in the second half, of course. But they smelt blood, didn't they? What did you make of Liverpool? Like, without trying to bring it back to how poor United were, how successful were Liverpool in this game?
Yeah, like you mentioned there, I think it is quite interesting. They are quite renowned, obviously, the amount of diagonal balls they play, obviously kind of stretching play, with the fullbacks pushing right up the pitch, and that was definitely something they clearly focused on, like you mentioned. But they did kind of expose the space on the pitch when they had the opportunity to. And it was quite noticeable. You saw kind of in the first half, especially Gakpo was kind of dropping in to those holes, and they were playing the ball into him, and he was keeping a hold of the ball quite well. I do think the first half was quite cagey from both teams. I think there were opportunities there for both teams. I just don't think they kind of were able to take advantage of moments in the game where they probably should have been a little bit more daring, a little bit more attacking. But yeah, Liverpool for just every man really. And I thought it was quite interesting that they played Harvey Elliott. I thought he had a very good game as well, because Bajcetic has started a lot of games recently, hasn't he, for Liverpool, and really impressed. But I think they probably just wanted to go for a bit of experience. Which sounds daft considering how young he is, but he's obviously got a lot more big game experience than Bajcetic. So yeah, I think for me as well, you've got to give credit to how clinical they were.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. I think they had 8 shots on target in the game and they've scored 7 goals. They were, or something along those lines. We've not seen, as good as he has been in many areas, we've not seen someone like Núñez necessarily always be clinical, but he looked so up for it in this game. And Gakpo, I thought, started the game really slowly and then just grew into the occasion, didn't he? It's finished for his second goal. As easy as Luke Shaw made it for him to find the space. To have that sort of calmness in quite a big game early in his Liverpool career when questions are being asked, I thought it was excellent. I thought that their front three was so clinical, definitely.
No, that finish couldn't have been executed any better. It was right in the inside of the post, wasn't it? But I think one thing I will highlight is just, it felt for me when watching this game, the amount of challenges that were made and then the ball bounced and fell to Liverpool. I would put that down to Liverpool being far more committed in the challenge. It just felt as though United were just so
lethargic
and just, rather than going through. I know obviously you don't see a lot of players these days go through the challenge and through their man, but it was almost, there was no aggression put into the challenges from United's half, and Liverpool were just more at it in those terms. They were coming out and the under challenges were picking up 50-50s, second balls. They were just so much better in that regard, and you've got to give them a lot of credit really, because they were probably the team really that were probably under more pressure coming into this game.
Yeah, and actually, with their recent form in the Premier League, take the Real Madrid game aside, they've put themselves right back into the conversation for top 4. And actually, with the momentum that they've got, I think I wrote them off a few podcasts ago and said, no, I don't think they'll get anywhere near it. That they look a certainty for me now all of a sudden. I don't really know how that's happened so quietly over the last few weeks, but you imagine they will retain their place in the Champions League next year now, right?
Yeah, they're obviously definitely on the rise. And don't get me wrong, there's been a lot of inconsistency amongst all of the top 4 contenders this season, barring obviously the top 2, but the likes of Tottenham, you don't know what you're going to get from them most weeks. I do feel as though there are going to be some surprise results still.
I think Liverpool have still got to play Arsenal and City, haven't they?
They've still got to play Arsenal, City. I think they've got to play Chelsea again as well. It sounds ridiculous now because you know how outsourced Chelsea are, but it could be a tricky game.
it wasn't long ago that they were neck and neck in the league, and it's shown what a successful January can really do, and like how you can kick on in that new year after the World Cup. That all of a sudden they look miles apart, these two sides. A bit of credit then for two players in particular, and then we'll move on from this game and put you out your misery. First of all, Mo Salah is now Liverpool's leading goal scorer in Premier League history. A phenomenal achievement. Now, a club with a lot of icons, a lot of legends, people that have achieved great things at Liverpool. Salah must rank among the best of them right now, though, surely. I think because it's a modern player, it's easy to think that maybe your bias is getting in the way to go, oh yeah, he's the best I've seen, so therefore he's the best. But think about the success Liverpool have had over recent years. They've won the Premier League with him in the team. They've won the Champions League with him in the team. Where does Salah rank amongst all-time greats in not just Liverpool's history, but the Premier League now? Do we have to consider him right at the top?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I think in terms of, if you look at consistency as well, over the last few seasons, obviously the amount of goals that he's scored consistently.
Is it 6 seasons in a row he's broken 20 goals now?
Yeah, I know you get a lot of people still, myself included, who say, I think Suarez was a better player, at his pomp. You have, obviously, Fernando Torres, even though it was short-lived, was ridiculous. But I think those were in periods where Liverpool's team definitely wasn't anywhere near as good as what it is now. So it was easy to kind of highlight those players and be like, oh, remember how good they were, because they just stood out so much. Whereas in that team that he's in now, there's so many good players in there. You can name 3 or 4 players, but he has really been the standout player, along with, probably Sadio Mane, who's obviously now left. So you've got to give him so much credit. And like you mentioned, it's not easy to do. But the few seasons ago, was it where he scored over 40 goals in a season? And you thought, and there was conversation of him, saying, "Oh, is he as good as Ronaldo and Messi? Is he on their level?" And I think for that season, he was. I think he was so good.
And then the other player I just wanted to give a quick mention to, it's been announced then that Roberto Firmino will leave Liverpool at the end of the season. Another great servant at the club who's enjoyed just as much success in terms of trophy haul as Salah. Where does he go next? Because I actually wonder if there are many squads in the Premier League that he doesn't improve. What do you think is his next stage? Can you see him elsewhere in England? Or do you think he'll go abroad again? What do you think of his next stage in his career?
I can't see him staying in England. I think he'll go back abroad. Maybe even back to Brazil, potentially.
Too early for that. I think he's still got so much to offer.
Yeah, he has got a lot to offer, and I'm sure he just wants to play games more than anything, because obviously he really has kind of lacked the minutes of late, and I think it's easy to forget how good a player he has been, and I think he's taken for granted in some instances by Liverpool fans, and I think that's ridiculous to say, but it's just how well they have played over the last few years, and kind of the embarrassment of riches that they've got up front now, where he is kind of surplus to requirements, which sounds ridiculous, but I just think they've got too many forward options now where he's probably better going elsewhere and making the most of, the rest of his career that he's got. Is he 30, 31 now?
31 he must be, I think.
Yeah, so...
I tell you what, it's ambitious. I'd take him. I think he'd be brilliant for us. Him alongside Ollie Watkins, that'd be amazing. He's done my head in during the Premier League. I hate the little no-look finishes and stuff like that, but he's a phenomenal player.